Oddity fine. I got some economic hawks, a gin and tonic on the rocks, where angels fear to tread. I say, choose your booze, let's hit the red eye. Think of young Diana Durbin and how she sung on rum and bourbon. Or enhance your luncheon hour with a planter's punch and a whiskey sour. If you feel like a wreck, try a horse's neck or a sherry with a cherry in the new finer size. If you don't name your poison, I'll have to get the boys in. The spirit of adventure opens one's eyes.
Metal Gen, I'll be prepared.
We definitely are this time. Continuing our previous authors we've already read, Ed series. This is our second one. We are going to read a little story called
Applejackson
by NY Giants 93. Hello again, NY Giants.
Yes. As many of you remember, we did a dramatic reading of the Rainbow Incident.
And in that story, there was a little instance in which it was brought up Applejack was dancing. Hence why Rainbow was making fun of her, hence why Applejack was led to cut off her mane. Spoilers.
This is the prequel, you could say, or the first one in a series.
Yeah, this is essentially what happened to lead up to the Rainbow Incident.
Yes.
All right, and also due to the nature of this story, we don't want to get cited for copyright infringement. So while we won't use the track in question, I will put a link to it in the annotation when it comes up, so you can sing along.
Yes.
You'll see what I mean when we get to it, though it should be pretty obvious by the title. Anyway, enough beating around the bush. Let's get right into
Applejackson
by My Giants 93. Come on, Pinkie Pie! How'd you manage to cause such a mess?
Applejack thought, cleaning off yet another glob of frosting with a paper towel before tossing it to the nearby garbage pail. She looked around and sighed. The entire bedroom was a disaster. Baking utensils scattered all around the floor like pieces of debris after a hurricane. Globs of batter and frosting covered the walls, floor, and ceiling. Glassware that once gave the pink mare's room an element of beauty was shattered, pieces of which littered the floor like shrapnel. It was too great of a mess to be handled by one pony, even if that one pony happened to be Pinkie Pie. Frustrated with her lack of success cleaning solo, the pink mare ran outside to ask passing ponies for assistance. She wasn't having any luck until Applejack and Rainbow Dash walked by, giving their friend a small wave as they passed. Pinkie Pie took advantage of the opportunity and jumped in front of them, her breathing heavy and her eyes frantic. Apparently, she was trying to make a super mega fudge brownie cake supreme for Nightmare Night.
Whatever that is, I don't want to know.
Death by chocolate.
Yeah.
Which was in a couple of days. She said how she envisioned a bizarre recipe while she was on one of her sugar highs caused by eating too many cupcakes. Oh God, I can see forever. She wanted to be grand, so much so that she put all her time and energy for the day into making it. The bakery was closed on Saturdays, and the cakes were out of town for the weekend, meaning that Pinkie Pie had the double bonus, having the entire place to herself and no customers to worry about. Using the rare opportunity, Pinkie Pie took over the kitchen and began to experiment with the recipe. Not surprisingly, this resulted in several explosions of flour, sugar, butter, and frosting all over the kitchen.
As well as many other things.
Mm-hmm. Once Pinkie made the kitchen almost uninhabitable, she moved everything up to her bedroom, going to make another huge mess.
There.
After toiling with the ingredients for hours, she gave up her attempts at baking the cake. She was about to go downstairs to clean up the kitchen, when she took notice of her bedroom, covered with every baking ingredient under Celestia's sun. Her jaw fell, realizing she had greater problem on her hooves, other than failing to make the baked goods and having to clean the kitchen. The mess in her room, coupled with the one in the kitchen, combined to create the worst mess she had ever seen.
Ever created.
I can correct myself, thank you.
Okay. Keep going.
Something was no small feat. She once blew up a molten lava cake the size of a carriage.
How is that?
It's Pinkie Pie.
You know what? I'm not even going to ask.
It's Pinkie Pie. Don't ask.
Mm-hmm.
She started to panic, knowing that she had to clean up every square inch of the house before the cakes returned Sunday night. It was a process that would likely take the rest of the day and possibly into the next morning.
It's going to take longer than that!
Mm-hmm. Well, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But it had to be done. Even the tiniest mess would cause the cakes to lose it. Okay. Out of kindness, both Rainbow Dash and Applejack agreed to help Pinkie Pie clean. Relieved and thankful for their assistance, the pink mare assigned Rainbow Dash the kitchen and Applejack the bedroom, saying she would bounce back and forth to help her two friends out. But because the kitchen was in such horrendous shape, she spent most of her time there with the Cyan Pegasus. Besides, Applejack assured her that the bedroom could be handled, and Rainbow Dash was prone to letting her mind wander off task if no pony was around to egg her on. Unfortunately, Applejack agreed to go solo before she even checked the bedroom to see how messy it was. She thought any mess would be easy to handle. After all, she was accustomed to cleaning up huge sticky messes, especially after her sister and her friends did something to mess up her home with their many Cutie Mark Crusader trials. As soon as Applejack opened the door to the bedroom and peered inside, she immediately regretted telling Pinkie Pie to leave her and help Rainbow Dash downstairs. Once Applejack saw the catastrophe that was once a simple bedroom, her jaw fell to the floor. It was a complete disarray, a level of chaos that not even Discord himself could conjure up.
Yeah, he'd probably see this and just be like,
"Fuck this, I'm out of here."
Like, I'm done. Pinkie Pie, you're the god of chaos now.
Nevertheless,
continuing.
It was far too much for one man to handle. Even the stubborn Applejack could see this. Nevertheless, she started the task, armed with only a water spritzer and 2 piles of paper towels.
That's not going to be enough.
Get some fucking Windex on this shit.
Mm-hmm.
One for washing, the other for drying. She cleaned at a brisk pace. She kept telling herself,
"It looks worse than it is. It ain't as bad as it looks. It looks worse than it is. It ain't as bad as it looks."
That was about an hour before where Applejack stood now. Once she finished cleaning off Pinkie Pie's dresser, she sighed and surveyed the room. She came to the disheartening conclusion that she hadn't even cleaned half the mess up yet. She clenched her teeth and started to grind them. But she continued her work, her mind continuing to race in silent rage.
"Help your best friend clean, I thought. It'd been us, I thought."
See the world, they say. Applejack thought to herself. Scowl on her face, she finished cleaning up the remnants of a blue vase, which had been shattered by one of Pinkie Pie's crazy baking explosions. The orange mare walked over a large glob of frosting plastered onto Pinkie's dresser and covering what appeared to be a record player. She moved the globs of frosting with her hooves, tossing it into a nearby waste can before spraying water onto the paper towel and wiping it down. She then dried it off using a regular paper towel. She tossed the 2 soiled towels and looked over the machine.
"Sure, I hope the frosting didn't damage it none."
The record player was white and pink, the colors one would expect for Pinkie Pie. It was very frilly and girly, something Applejack would never allow in her house, let alone own. On the machine was a record, still covered in some sticky pink frosting from the Super Mega Fudge Brownie Cake Supreme escapade. Applejack sprayed a new paper towel with water, began to wipe down the smooth surface of the record, drying it off with a second towel. She then looked at the center to see the words "Nightmare Night Party Music" scribbled onto the center in black marker. It was clear Pinkie Pie wrote it, if the sloppy hoof writing and the exaggerated sized letters were any indication. Applejack was curious to what music Pinkie Pie would put into a Nightmare Night record. Did she just buy the record at the store or manage to pick her favorite songs and put them on some kind of new record playlist? That sounded odd, but knowing Pinkie Pie, it would be plausible that she could find a way to pull it off.
You can record things onto a record, can you?
Oh yeah, there's this whole story about how the Russians did it in the 70s.
Could ponies pull it off?
Probably if you had the proper equipment and recording software.
Just ask for Arnold Scratch. Alright.
True. She was about to get back to cleaning, but then stopped. She looked back at the record player and smiled, curiosity getting the better of her.
I guess playing some tunes while I walk wasn't none.
Applejack thought with a smile.
Besides, I should probably see if this thing still works after being covered in frosting whenever else Pinkie Pie was working with.
Applejack turned on the record player and moved the needle onto the record itself, ready to see what her best friend wanted to play for the upcoming holiday. She then turned to get back to cleaning, keeping her ear at attention so she could listen to the music as she worked. For about 10 seconds, the record's spinning with no music coming out.
And now is the time in which I'm going to try to time this annotation so it starts right when the song's supposed to, but if I mess up more or less, yeah.
You'll try.
All right. It's not time yet.
Hey. She turned around and was ready to recheck the record. Finally, she heard some music coming from the device. Sighing, she turned back to her work, wet towel in one hoof, dry one in the other. First, the song started out with a spooky beat, wolves howling and footsteps, but soon the song started to pick up in its tempo. It was around this time that Applejack began to think the mystery song sounded catchy. Without realizing it, she started tapping her hoof against the wood in her friend's room. She just started to hum the song as well as move the damp towel she was using to the rhythm. Eventually, the lyrics started.
It's close to midnight, and something evil's lurking in the dark. Under the moonlight, you see a sight that's almost stops your heart.
Applejack never heard this song before. In fact, the singer sounded different than any musical artist she knew of in Equestria. His voice was masculine, with a hint of softness. An interesting combination, but she couldn't complain. In her opinion, it fit the song well.
And again, I only really listen to country music.
Applejack thought as the song continued on.
You try to scream, but terror takes the sound before you make it.
The song continued on, and with every second passing through Applejack's ears, it became catchier, catchier.
You start to freeze as horror looks right into the eyes. You're paralyzed.
She moved the frosting globe to sticky beater. There was a noticeable bounce in her step, like she was gliding across the floor. She continued this fluid movement until the song hit full steam. 'Cause this is Thriller! Thriller night! And no one's gonna save you from the beast about to strike! This is when Applejack completely forgot about the task at hand and began to move around the floor of Pinkie Pie's room, trying to follow the rhythm as best she could. She spun around, but not like a ballerina, more like a single quick turn before getting into a pose. She pulled her hat down over her green eyes. This was far from her typical dancing style. Mostly she was accustomed to square dancing and ballroom dancing. None of this hip stuff. But there was something about this music that made her continue moving in the same manner. She went along with the rhythm, letting the dry towel she held fall to the floor, the song continuing to play on and on, the beat causing her to dance like she never had before. You know it's Thriller! Thriller night! You're fighting for your life inside a killer! Thriller tonight! She stopped dancing around, and hat still down became a more stationary dance, spinning in place and moving her hooves onto the tips before lowering herself back down to the ground. She finally dropped the damp towel she was holding up to the floor, not once breaking stride in her jive. Applejack continued to dance in this manner until the song finally ended. Once the beat stopped, she froze mid-dancing position, posing as if she just ended a live performance in front of hundreds of ponies. Her chest expanded and contracted, her breathing rapid, tongue hanging out of her mouth as she panted not unlike Winona would after chasing a group of apple-poaching squirrels. She stayed in this position for a few moments until she heard some pony snicker. Her green eyes shut open.
Oh no.
Slowly, she lifted her head, pushing her Stetson back into its proper position. She turned around and looked behind her towards the source of the voice. There she saw Rainbow Dash standing in the doorframe, her face contorted in an attempt to prevent herself from bursting into laughter. Pinkie Pie was also present. Though she wasn't laughing, instead she had a huge grin on her face, her eyes seeming to sparkle in the light.
Ooh, I see you like my record. Now I'm even more excited to play it and mark it on Nightmare Night.
Pinkie Pie hopped over to the device and shut it off just as another song started to play. Something about busting ghosts or something.
Dun, 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 dun. What?
What?
Anyway, moving right along.
The blood rushed to Applejack's cheeks, lighting them a fiery red. Her eyes were fixed on Rainbow Dash, who had resorted to occasionally biting down on her hoof to prevent a giggle fit.
Awesome moves there, AJ.
The Pegasus snickered.
I didn't know you liked to dance.
I wasn't dancing. I was bad on my leg, and I was trying to get it off, spinning and such.
Applejack said, cringing. Only when the excuse came out of her mouth did she realize how ridiculous it sounded.
Why couldn't you just use one of the towels?
Rainbow Dash asked, pointing to 2 piles of paper towels that were laying on the floor, roughly 10 feet away from the dancing earth pony. She then turned back to Applejack, smiling smugly.
It seems like they would work best.
Would you believe me if I said I was having a seizure?
Both Pinkie Pie and Rainbow Dash shook their heads. Applejack was defeated. She was humiliated and no longer able to look her friends in the face without passing out, face red as those apples she worked with every day. Rainbow Dash snickered.
You like dancing, don't you, AJ?
Squidward. Squidward, you like Krabby Patties, don't you?
You like men.
You can see into my mind?
No.
Fuck. Oh, and for the record, we're not gay. Anyway, moving right along.
No one cares! Shit! Broke character for a second. No one gives a shit. Applejack slowly nodded. Besides, I was quoting Psycho Mantis, Metal Gear Awesome.
We know! And for those who don't know, are idiots. I'm sorry, those who don't know. And we're getting way off track here.
Wow, this escalated quickly. Applejack slowly nodded, resulting in Rainbow Dash bursting into hysterics, laughing her flank off. Applejack wanted to disappear, then Pinkie Pie spoke up.
I think you dance really well.
Pinkie Pie said, cheerfully, bouncing over to Applejack and putting her hoof around her shoulder. Applejack looked at Pinkie Pie.
Really?
Pinkie Pie nodded.
Yeah, but you were doing the dance.
Sorry.
Yeah, but you weren't doing the dance right. It goes like this.
Pinkie Pie got up on her hind legs and began to stalk side to side, hooves out in front of her. She looked like she was impersonating something between a cat and a zombie.
Mm-hmm.
Applejack cracked a smile and started giggling, as did Rainbow Dash.
Wow, that's pretty good. Where'd you learn that anyway?
Applejack said.
Oh, just around.
Pinkie Pie said with a smile. Finally, Rainbow Dash stopped laughing, wiping some tears away from her eyes.
Oh, sorry, Applejack. It's just sort of funny. You, the big, tough farm pony of Ponyville, and you enjoy dancing. It's just so unexpected.
So what if she enjoys dancing?
Big deal,
Yeah. Aha, very funny.
Applejack said, rolling her eyes in annoyance.
But you did look good.
Rainbow Dash said before she realized how that sounded.
I mean, dancing. Your dancing looked good.
You like Applejack, don't you, Rainbow Dash?
We all know you do.
Rainbow Dash rubbed the back of her neck, cheeks blushing. Applejack smiled at her friend, who was now the sheepish one.
Thanks, all day. It's like, okay.
Great! Now that everything's back to normal, what do you say we get back to work? We have a ton of cleaning to do before the cakes get back.
Rainbow Dash didn't respond immediately, still blushing profusely until Pinkie Pie gave her a small nudge. She then shook her head and was back at attention.
Huh? Oh, right!
Rainbow Dash said before zipping downstairs, Pinkie Pie right behind her. Applejack chuckled and turned her attention back to the mess still surrounding her. She picked up the water spritzer and 2 towels before walking over to the bookshelf. She sprayed it down, damped one of the towels, began thoroughly wiping down the wood. Careful not to get any of the books wet unless they were already covered in Pinkie Pie's debris. As she did so, she began to hum the beat from the song, a little swagger in her step and a smile on her face. She slewed her hips and round a bit. As she did, she broke into the song.
All this is thriller, thriller, not no one's gonna save you from the beast about to strike.
Ah! I didn't know you liked singing too, AJ!
Rainbow Dash shouted from the doorway. She left her water spritzer in the bedroom and came back to grab it.
You're really quite the showman. Maybe you should try out for a musical or something.
Embarrassed, Applejack shot her friend an angry glare.
Daedaltheus!
With a triumphant laugh, Rainbow Dash grabbed the spritzer off the ground and flew away. Applejack turned back to her work and sighed.
Every chance I try to sing, I get interrupted, like some sort of cruel, ongoing joke.
Why have you forsaken me, gods of music?
The end.
Well,
That was certainly entertaining.
that was a special little one.
Yeah, short, funny, and actually, this combined with the Rainbow Incident, I could see being a complete episode.
Yes.
Granted, they'd probably have to remove a bit of the lesbian things, but yeah, more or less it could work.
Meh. Yes, very believable. Very good.
Mm-hmm. And I have no idea why, but I do imagine Applejack is a character who would like to dance. Maybe that's just me.
Have you seen the family reunion episode?
Yeah, but like I said, that was square dancing and ballroom dancing. Not the same as this.
Meh.
Anyway, that includes our reading, and we hope you had a good night, good
Yep.
day, alright,
Good night and good luck.
and good transdimensional end of the universe.
What?